10 years ago, I thought I had time. I was in high school, sophomore year, somewhere between being a kid and pretending I already understood how the world worked. I had dreams, big ones, the kind that didn't even fit into sentences properly, the kind you feel more than you can explain. Every time I tried to say them out loud, they'd shrink a little, like they weren't meant to be spoken yet, just carried. Back then, school still felt like something, a place with direction, a place that was supposed to give you tools, maybe even a way out. At least, that's what I believed. But somewhere along the line, quietly and without announcement, that feeling changed. The classroom stayed the same. The uniforms didn't change. The bell still rang on schedule. But the meaning shifted. School stopped being a place I went to build a future, and slowly became a place I went to hide from the present and escape, because outside, things were heavier, uncertain in a way no textbook could prepare you for. So I stayed, longer than I needed to. I found reasons, sports, extra lessons, conversations that should have ended, but didn't. Sometimes I'd just sit there doing nothing, and somehow, that nothing felt safer than whatever was waiting for me out there. I stretched time inside those walls like it owed me something. Inside, there were people. People who made me laugh. People who made things feel normal, even when they weren't. People who, without knowing it, helped me forget. And sometimes, forgetting is the closest thing to peace you can afford. Somewhere in all of that, I fell out of love with the academic side of things. Or at least, I told myself I did. But the truth is, it's easier to say this isn't for me than to admit you're already grieving something you haven't even lost yet. Because I could see it coming. The ending. I knew continuing beyond high school wasn't guaranteed. Not because I didn't want it. Not because I wasn't capable. But because reality has a way of placing limits on your dreams, without ever saying it out loud. I couldn't afford it. And where I come from, opportunity doesn't exactly come looking for you. Scholarships, not something you grow up expecting. Those were stories about other people. Distant, rare, almost mythical. So I started preparing myself early, detaching just enough. So when it happened, it wouldn't break me completely. That's what I thought. 7 years ago, I graduated, and somehow, I was still optimistic, still convinced the world had something for me, something with my name on it. I remember thinking, I'm due, not in an entitled way, just in that quiet, hopeful way you believe life eventually balances itself out. Like if you've endured enough, something good has to come back around. Yeah, not quite. Life had other plans. It didn't hit all at once. It dealt slowly, patiently, like a game I didn't remember agreeing to play. And I'm sitting there, trying to understand the rules halfway through. Some cards were jokers, not the funny kind, the kind that make you look around and ask, seriously? A pandemic that paused everything, plans dissolving, opportunities disappearing before they even existed. Then came the job losses, not just mine, everywhere. Like stability itself had been quietly recalled, and nobody knew when it was coming back. And just when you think you understand the pattern, life reverses the game on you. You find yourself holding more than you can carry, playing with a hand you never chose. If I'm being honest, I don't know if I'm winning or just surviving round to round. There's a strange kind of silence that shows up when you realize you feel completely exhausted by a life you haven't really lived yet. People talk about a midlife crisis like it's scheduled, something that shows up politely in your 40s or 50s, knocks politely, and says, hey, it's time to panic about what you did with your life. Most of us have heard the phrase enough times that it almost sounds familiar, even comforting in a strange way. A name for the moment when everything feels shaky, a label for the fear. They say it's about mortality, about looking back and noticing the gaps, the goals that didn't quite happen, the version of yourself you were so sure you'd become. It comes with restlessness, sudden obsessions with change, strained relationships, sudden hobbies, appearance fixation, people rearranging furniture in houses they've already built, mood shifts, and careers that suddenly feel too tight. A crisis that has been earned through decades of mortgage payments and school runs. Honestly, I sympathize with anyone who's been there, is there, or will be there. I can't pretend I understand it though. It's terrifying, sure, but at least it comes with clarity. At least there's something solid to question. I'm not here to talk about this kind of crisis. I haven't earned that one yet. I don't really understand it. What I do know is something quieter. Something that comes before any of that. Before anything is built. Before there's even a foundation to stand on. An early life crisis. It doesn't come with gray hair or a sports car. It shows up while you're still being told you have time. And somehow, you already feel late. It feels like standing in front of too many open doors, while a voice in your head keeps asking, what if you choose wrong? Not just what to do, but how to do it. Whether the thing you're chasing now is something you will even recognize later. The pressure of making decisions that shape your future. Choosing the people you'll share it with, hoping quietly, desperately, that those choices don't harden into regret. This stage isn't about what you've done. It's about everything you haven't. It's realizing the dreams you had as a kid might not fit the reality you're standing in, and having to adjust without feeling like you failed. There's a concept in Islam called sabr, patience. I often mistook it for a passive waiting, a kind of spiritual stagnancy. I've been thinking that maybe real sabr is the ability to sit in the quiet of a 2 a.m. kitchen with a blinking router and a cold heart, and not let the not yet turn into never. When you're young, the world hands you these crisp, absurdly optimistic blueprints. Build something solid by 30. A version of our lives mapped out, carefully imagined, detailed. The career here, the house there, the dream car, a certain kind of happiness, a version of yourself that looks convincing when framed properly. Some people build that life exactly as they imagine. A few even surpass it. But for most of us, the ground shifts. The materials don't arrive. And suddenly, you're standing there with a child's toolbox, trying to do an architect's job, and still expected to build something that lasts. I'm sure people back then were probably wrestling with the same challenges we face now. The anxiety about the future, the self-doubt and pressure to get it right. The difference is, they didn't get to see some kid in Singapore spend their annual salary in a weekend. Proof that someone their age or younger was living a life that looked impossibly ahead of theirs. The internet did that. The gift and the curse. Every day, you open your phone and step into a highlight reel. A 24-hour parade of everyone else's opening nights, graduations, promotions, first cars, perfect vacations, all happening to people who once sat next to you struggling to remember the same equations. Meanwhile, you're in your room, staring at a yogurt container that started its own independent civilization, trying to figure out if it's still edible, trying to figure out if you still are, metaphorically speaking. The math becomes cruel. You wake up late after a night of binge-watching Suits, open your phone, and the first thing you see is someone you went to school with, holding a degree you once imagined for yourself. And you don't know whether to smile for them or mourn yourself. You see the person you once had a huge crush on getting married, or the person you were involved with moving on, gracefully. Not because you didn't care, but because you weren't ready. Because you couldn't be. This isn't regret. Not yet. Regret belongs to a different stage of life. This is something else. This is the vertigo of the not yet, the pressure of building a life, while constantly being shown better, shinier versions of what yours could be. It's comparison without context, measurement without mercy. And then there's everything else, the heavier things, a natural disaster in a country you can't place on a map, breaking news from all around the world that has you wondering if all this planning even matters, if any of it is guaranteed. The world feels like it's constantly on the edge of something terrible. You see disturbing videos, senseless acts, stories about people you never knew that somehow pull you into a spiral. Then the unexpected passing of someone you did know brings everything crashing down, forcing you to question your own life, your priorities, your time. You scroll again, and suddenly a compilation of funny baby videos. You laugh. You feel lighter. Then, inexplicably, you're hit with baby fever. Then a video of a dog learning how to skateboard. Joy, grief, success, loss, all compressed into a single scroll. All of this happens within minutes, hours. By the end of the day, you're emotionally wrung out, and you're not even sure what you're supposed to feel anymore. And somehow, you end up here, searching, trying to figure it out, looking for stories, voices, proof that someone else feels the same way, sharing pieces of ourselves, hoping that recognition might turn into relief, following others to see how they carry their own weight, wondering if maybe their way could work for us too. So if you're here, in this quiet panic of potential, feeling lost in the prologue of your own story, you're not alone. A lot of us are here, building foundations in an earthquake zone, trying to make sense of unstable ground, while the world streams finished castles into our pockets. And maybe that's the part nobody told us, that you can do everything right and still feel lost, that you can be trying, really trying, and still feel behind. That uncertainty doesn't disappear just because you reach the age you thought it would. And maybe that kid from 10 years ago, the one sitting in a classroom holding dreams too big to explain, was never asking for certainty. He wasn't asking for a perfect plan. He just wanted a chance to try, to build something, to become something, even if it didn't look like what he imagined. I'd like to believe we're still in the game, still playing the hand, still figuring out the rules, still standing at that crossroads, except now more than ever, can see it for what it is, not a failure to choose, but proof that we still can. Maybe this part of life was never meant to be solved all at once. I don't have all the answers, just the feeling that maybe this confusion isn't failure. Maybe it's just the sound of becoming. And if none of this makes sense yet, if the noise gets too loud, if the maybes start closing in, there's always one thing left to do. Something simple, almost ancient in its wisdom. Just log the hell off. Step outside. Sit with yourself. Let the silence come back. Not the heavy one, the honest one. The world will still be spinning when you get back. Probably. So wherever you are right now, driving, lying awake, or just sitting with your thoughts, I'm glad our paths crossed for a little while. Take care of your mind. Guard your heart. And don't rush the questions that take a lifetime to answer. Until next time, peace be with you.